And I want to dive a little bit deeper into something that you're very familiar with called cause marketing. And so you run, CEO of a not-for-profit in Metro Atlanta called Must Ministries.
Correct.
And I'd say it's one of the premier not-for-profits in, in that neck of the woods for sure. So, and you guys do a lot of great work, and we'll drill down on that in a minute. How much of a challenge is it to get local businesses, both small and big, to get involved with you and make it part of what they do?
It's extremely hard because, number one, most businesses do not have a social conscience. And the ones that do stand out. Mm-hmm. The ones that do, you know them, and you want to do business with them in a personal way. Because for those companies that come in, it's not just that they give you dollars, but they give you people who come and volunteer. But when you do, they become the greatest partners on the planet. Mm-hmm. And, you know, we've got some fabulous ones. Your Home's So Guaranteed is certainly one of those partners.
Cone says from their research that 90% of consumers want companies to tell them the ways that they are supporting causes. I don't know where I heard it or where I felt that it might have been a little bit taboo to tell our customers and prospects that we support local charities and companies, like, hey, we give a portion of our income away to, some worthy cause. I don't know where that was programmed into me that, hey, maybe you shouldn't do that, but my judgment over, hanging around people like you and Craig Proctor, it seemed like the thing to do. Pretty much the opposite of what is norm and standard in the world is the rule that we sort of follow here.
Well, I would believe absolutely the opposite of that. And let me tell you why from a charity side of things. Mm-hmm. It helps us, not only when you come in and you give us the time and you give us the hours, but you give us your image rub. And that means a great deal to us because there's people who do business with you that might not have known about Must, mm-hmm. but they know your logo, they know what you're about. That's why when you go to our donation center, we have your name up on the board. That's why we put it out on social media. Here's who's, participating with us today. Mm-hmm. And here's what we know. Those kinds of companies flock together.
In their research, 83% of Americans wish more of the products, services, and retailers they use would actually support causes. That's a tremendous number.
It's a tremendous number.
Yeah. And when you look down here and we dig a little bit deeper at numbers like this, 88% of Americans say it's acceptable for companies to involve a cause or issue in their marketing. This record number represents a 33% increase since they've been keeping this study. 85% of consumers have a more positive image of a company when it supports a cause they care about, and 90% of consumers want companies to tell them the ways they are supporting causes. Put another way, more than almost 300 million people in the United States want to know what a company is doing to benefit a worthy cause.
Absolutely.
And to set this up, and the reason I wanted to have you here this morning to talk about this is that we don't want this to be manipulative.
Correct.
Like, even though we may say things like, hey, your referrals help the kids at Children's Healthcare of Atlanta, or your referrals help people who need it the most over at Must Ministries. So, send us business and we're going to donate some of our money away. But it really only works when it's genuine.
Absolutely, and that's the key right there. Is the money really going to help kids? And the answer is yes, it is. When you give money to Must Ministries, are you going to be feeding families? Yes, you are. Are you going to be helping people to get jobs? You are indeed. Clothing, absolutely. Housing. Every night underneath the banner of Must, there's over 300 people that have a safe night of rest.
The first thing that you're going to want to do is establish a plan for partnering with or doing business with local charities. Okay, that's the first thing that you want to do. So, because when we pick it up here at this level in coaching, especially with platinum members, we're basically saying, okay, let's get our referral offer together. The offer. which basically is the story of your company being involved with a cause. So we kind of pick it up after someone has sort of decided that they're going to run down this road and partner with, you know, a local charity or a cause or two. So help us there. If I'm sort of new at this and I'm trying to decide who I want to partner with or give my money away to, and then brag about it to my audience out there and get them involved as well. How do you go about deciding who or who not?
Great question. First thing I tell you to do is write down this name, Charity Navigator. Charity Navigator is an independent third party that rates charities. Every 501c3 is required to do something called 990s. That's their version of tax. You know, you can read their tax statement. You want to be with an organization that the money gets to the people it needs to go to. You can automatically, if you go into Must Ministries and you look at our 990, you can see exactly what my salary was for last year. You can see what my salary was because we've done a 990 every year. You can go back the entire time I've been there and you can see what I'm paid in the organization. And then you look and you see what percentage of that company's total income goes to overhead. Charity Navigator only rates to a 4-star level, which I hate that they don't rate to 5 stars because people say to me, why won't y'all a 5-star? They don't rate that high. So, you know, like on a scale of 1 to 10, they don't have a 10. It's only an 8. So it's a 4-star rating. If you spend more than 20% of your income on all of your overhead, you'll not be a 4-star. We've been a 4-star 9 years in a row. We've been a 4-star. If they don't have 990s, then don't hook up with them because it could end up embarrassing you one day. If you tell people, hey, we're going to be giving to this organization, and then it turns out that that organization is not really who they portrayed themselves to be, then you get guilt by association. So you want somebody doing your research for you, and that's why I would tell you Charity Navigator is the best of the best of the best.
One of the difficult things that I run into, especially with newer Platinum members, is just buying into, getting involved with a cause, you know, say at the community level. And some people just directly tell it to me, some people I sense it from is, look, Todd, I'm struggling a bit. I don't have a lot of excess or none. So the last thing I need to be thinking about is donating money from my income to some worthy cause. Like I'm the worthy cause, you know, that sort of thing. And I certainly understand that. And it's, you know, we're not here to make our beliefs prevail, but in a way that we are. We operate with, you know, doing pretty much the opposite of what's normal and standard, you know, in the industry. And we believe that, you know, we need to go the extra mile, which means that we kind of need to know what the first mile is with our customers. What is it that they want so that I can go the extra bit, right? And the philosophy of, you know, kind of the size of the hole that you give through is directly proportionate to the size of the hole that you receive through.
Correct.
And so just talk a little bit about that. I don't want to tell people this is something they have to do because everybody's on their own success journey. But it does seem like that whatever you want more of, just give it away. Yeah. So just help us bridge that gap a little bit with that sort of thinking. If you
well, I think it's a universal law. It's certainly one, when I refer to the Bible, it's certainly something that's there, but it even predates that. And that's called the law of sowing and reaping. Mm-hmm. It is a fundamental law in the universe that whatever gives, lives. And, you know, the trees give oxygen through the process of photosynthesis and everything else that goes on. Our universe gives back. And there is something about giving that is healthy. And the way that you give is that you sow. You're going to find out there's a lot more kind people when you're being kind to people. You reap what you sow. you always reap later than you sow. You know, there's a process that's in there. There's a time of cultivation that takes place. And then you're going to reap more than you've sown.
Look at our referral marketing system checklist, because I want to update with you guys right now in the room. There's 2 things I want to add to it. Now, the first thing that happens, Ike, as you know, when somebody joins or starts to implement this system, is they'll come to the coaching site and they'll download the examples every month of a new newsletter that we produce. We use 2 basic templates. We have one for a children's hospital and we have one for something that's not a children's hospital. In this case, I use Must Ministries as an example. So this would be, let me show this to everybody just real quick, but I want to tell you some mistakes that people are making here. All right, so that's page 1, page 2, page 3, and page 4 of the newsletter template that we call Homeward Bound, okay? Now, what most people in Platinum do first is once they get their referral offer together, their offer, so to speak, in other words, my pitch for why we do this, you know, and we'll take a look at one here in a moment, they produce this newsletter and they begin to send it out to their databases. Well, if I go back and look at our checklist on this, it is not at the top. It's at the bottom. So I want to remind everybody that that direct mail of that Homeward Bound newsletter is the least effective part of the referral marketing system. I'm not saying it's not effective. I'm saying it's the least effective of the things that are effective. But it's the first thing that real estate agents want to run out and do, and here's why. It's the easiest. Well, Todd's already designed it. I just have to pop out my name, his name, put my name in there, pop in whatever calls we're involved in, and hand it over to my assistant. They mail it out. And then they'll call me and say, yeah, it's just not all that effective. Well, you've said it pretty well. Your dad was in the farming business, okay? He plants one little kernel of corn, and I'm going to show up in the fall, and there's going to be a stalk with at least 2 ears on it with all kinds of kernels. Yep. Now, a couple of things have to happen here for this to go right, okay? Number 1 is timing. Sure. He has to plant the seed at the right time in order for it to end up being the right thing. If they're too late with it, they don't get as big a crop or none at all, okay? If they're too early, it's sort of the same thing. If you'll follow the referral marketing system checklist, you'll see that. The first thing that we have to do is we got to get our story straight, okay? So you've got to go to the coaching site, pull down the story examples of why you do this. Hey, we're involved with Must Ministries, and here's why that's a big deal, okay? And that becomes a unique selling proposition that we've discovered. The fact that our business and the business of so many people in here gives a portion of our income away to a very worthy cause has in and of itself become a unique selling proposition. And it was only recently when I saw the Cone study that we looked at that pretty much says that is a USP. I can't forget to tell the story or plant the seed. So in the buyer presentations and in our listing presentations, when we first sit down with a client, there's PowerPoint slides about our involvement into this early in the presentation, not at the end, but early in the presentation. So if you're a Platinum member, you could go pull down those slide examples right there in that same file library. People being receptive to your message is a key element in making this work, would you say?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Shout new content every month for you to copy and implement.
We had Bob Goff in our church recently who wrote the book Love Does, and he's just this amazing guy. And he talked about how many times people are prepared, but then they're not ready. You know, we have all of our ducks in a row. We come to a conference like this. We do everything, and we're prepared, but we don't ever take that next step to be ready when an opportunity presents itself. Mm-hmm. And sometimes when you're with a client, something that may be near and dear to their heart will surface in that conversation. Mm-hmm. And if you know about that organization and you know it's good to even say, hey, we could make it to your organization in your name, I think you ought to be ready, not just prepared with everything that Todd's given you. And Lord knows you're giving them so much. to be prepared, but be ready and do that. Stop, look, and listen.
Ike, I want to thank you for making the trip out to California and spending some hours with us.
Glad to do it, sir.
Love you. Amazing.
Love you too. Thanks, buddy. All right. Thanks, y'all.
Give Ike a big hand.
Ah, you're kind.
Thank you.
See you.
Okay, so you guys know a thing or two about discs now that maybe you didn't know before, but yes, it is part of building a world-class real estate business. Nobody here is going to say that your real estate business must be, 15 or 20 people size big. That's not how it works, as Craig said clearly. What we want you to do is just be able to just do a better job for others and for your own self. And marketing will make that much, much easier. And it permeates everything that we do. And it's the whole key to having a steady flow of income so that you can feel really good about investing more of your money into a self-employed pension or something like that, giving more money away to very worthy causes. So I want to congratulate all of you in the room that are doing that and really pressing that issue a bit more. Okay, so hopefully you benefited from that last session. But again,